Hi, this is Emily Martin. This is my presentation for Information and Media, how museum artwork is preserved and accessed digitally. Okay, which art museums are moving their collections to online? So there are many art museums that have been digitizing their collections to both preserve, efficiently archive, and allow patron access to their pieces. Some museums include the Louvre Museum in Paris, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and even my own city, Birmingham Museum of Art, Birmingham, Alabama. Uh, some websites have their entire collection available, while others specifically curated collections of art that can be showcased on their websites. So for example, some museums will have their entire collection, so that means that they've digitized all of their pieces of art and uploaded that to the internet. That is very time consuming and expensive, and it also takes a lot of data to do that. So some museums will just upload certain exhibitions curated by the art curators at the museum. So for example, if they're doing an exhibition on Native American artwork, they would upload all of their Native American artwork to the internet so that people can see it, and it also gets the word out for um, that specific exhibition. And so more people might come to the museum just to see that exhibition. Okay, and what kinds of art can be digitized and archived? So paintings, obviously, can be digitized, but also sculpture, contemporary art such as graffiti, costumes and masks, architecture, and graphic novel artwork. As we can see over here, this is the Venus de Milo, um, which has been, photographed. It seems to me like that it was just one image, but there are also versions that you can see for sculptures that take a whole entire panoramic view of the sculpture, or just multiple pictures so you can see the back, the front, the sides. This right here is the Law Code of Hammurabi. This is a historical piece of art, as well, as just art in itself. So that can be digitized by just taking photographs. And then we have graphic novel work right here. It's from a manga called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it was actually, this artwork was displayed at the Louvre when they were doing their artwork for contemporary artwork. And that was, you could find this artwork scanned online everywhere, and then also on the Louvre's website. Okay, how do they digitize their art? So there are various ways a museum can employ when converting their art into a digital format. One of the most common ways is to first take a picture of the piece of art. This would be done for sculpture or for art pieces that really can't be moved too much or taken out of the frame. This would be taken with a high quality digital camera, and then they would upload the image and compress it to convert it to a TIFF, a PNG, a JPEG, or a JPEG 200, or other image formats. It is also important to use a lossless compression technique in order for the image to last longer. So that would be, a JPEG or a JPEG 200, which is a lossless compression technique. So also the artwork can be directly scanned and uploaded using various scanning techniques. So over here, I have the drum scanning technique, and then we have the flatbed scanning technique. The drum scanning is more high quality. You will see a lot more detail with that, more depth to the artwork, but it's also more difficult to get, maybe something that has been framed or something that can't really be moved like that. And in that case, they would use a flatbed scanning technique, which would just scan the top of it like so. And some variations of the machinery can even flatbed scan a piece of art with a frame. So flatbed scanning also, you probably you would actually find this at your office or even at the library itself, and that's when you just put a piece of paper on that flat glass part of a copier, and that's a flatbed scan. For sculpture, either multiple pictures can be taken, or even a panoramic picture can be taken to see the entire depth of the sculpture. The method that I had mentioned previously, the drum scanning and then the flatbed scanning, was a method used by a lot of companies that digitize and print art for profit, such as Artworks Fine Art Publishing and LaFonci Galleries and Framing. The methods used by these companies are similar to that of museums who might have more advanced techniques of digitizing delicate artwork. So for example, if you used a piece of art like the girl with the pearl earring, that was created a very long time ago, I think in the 1500s. And so obviously the paper is probably more delicate, the colors are probably fading, and if it gets, maybe on a flatbed like here, or God forbid in a drum, it could break, and the paint could chip and things like that. So, they might have more advanced flatbed scanning or techniques, and they might even just take a picture of it. Okay, how is it cataloged and accessed? From researching many art museum websites, the way that digital images are found on their website is through a database search. So you would go to the website, and you would go to the search bar and maybe search for the piece of art that you're looking for. They also usually will have their collection separated into genres that you can look at as well. The one that I'm using is as an example, is the Louvre website. So, for example, if you search the keywords Mona Lisa on the Louvre website, you will be taken to multiple images that contain the metadata pertaining to the word searched. So that means that you will see a bunch of images, related to the Mona Lisa, but the one that you're looking for, you will see the image displayed, and you'll be like, oh, that's the one I want, and you'll click on it. And once you do that, you're given a full view of the piece of art, as well as the history behind it. And I looked into the source page, and I found all of the the information that was input into the web page. So, for example, you'll see that there's the information on Roman Egypt. That's the location that it was created, the date it was created, and then all of this text right here is actually the information right down here that you will see displayed. So once the curators will then upload the compressed image to the already existing online inventory and then attach keywords in the metadata so that patrons looking for that specific artwork can quickly find it in the database. And that would just, that would be how they access the artwork online. Okay, and a lot of museums are also, to increase their access to their patrons, have started making virtual reality tours. Art museums will often come in these virtual, the way that they use virtual reality would come in the form of tours through a virtual gallery in which patrons can view and sometimes interact with the art that is on display. The way that patrons access the virtual environment is also different for each museum, with some employing apps that can be used on smartphones that give a panoramic view of the gallery, or a full headset, like this man right here has on his head, where the patron feels like they're actually in the room viewing the pieces of art. I'm sure you've seen pictures or videos online of people using VR and how that's being used for video games and how it's completely immersing the viewer in that world. And that's kind of the goal of virtual reality for art galleries, which will make you feel like you're actually in the art gallery itself. Some examples of virtual tours are the Mona Lisa, Beyond the Glass at the Louvre, and the VR experience in the National Museum of Finland, which takes the patron into the painting itself. The VR experience in the National Museum of Finland actually takes you back in time to what that piece of art is depicting, which is the commencement of the Diet, a form of government. This will also, you are able to talk to the people in the painting and get the historical context behind that painting and like what was going on at that time. It's, it definitely improves the learning experience rather than just looking at the art and maybe reading the little card at the bottom. You're actually there experiencing the art and what was happening at the time it was created. Okay, some criticism and approval. Obviously, not everyone's going to like the idea of providing free access to art. Some critics believe that by digitizing artwork in museums, this ruined the experience of viewing the artwork in person. So for example, they think that, when you go to a museum and you see a piece of art, there's, magic happening. You get to see it. And it's true that seeing a piece of art in person is a lot more impressive than seeing it online. They also believe that by putting the images online, patrons will not want to visit the museum in person, thus decreasing the amount of profits for the museum. Those who are in favor of digitizing art see that easily accessible art has increased patron turnout. So for example, in the said, some critics believe that by digitizing artwork in a museum, it ruins the experience. But it has been shown that when you see the art online, that will make you want to go to the museum and see it in person and actually increase the amount of people wanting to go to that museum and see the pieces of art. In a study conducted by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, it was actually found that most patrons to art museums go to the museum online. So, most of their patrons are digitally accessing their artwork rather than being there in person. And this is probably due to some people can't, enter the building. Maybe they have, accessibility problems, or, they're in another country and they can't go to that country because they don't have the money. So for example, the Louvre in Paris, people can't just drop everything and go to the Louvre, and, seeing these digital art pieces online helps them see the art, and it also increases the amount of patrons that can view the art and the accessibility of it. Also, having these art collections online will increases awareness of, smaller museums. So for example, my art museum in my city, Birmingham Museum of Art, and it will increase the prestige because, people will be able to see the rare and, the unique pieces of art that they have at the museum. They also believe that virtual reality is the only way to keep art museums relevant in the age of social distancing. So virtual reality, as well as, other ways of accessing the artwork, people can't go there themselves anymore. And, who knows how long, COVID will last, and art museums need a way to connect to their patrons and allow their patrons access to their art, or they will become irrelevant. And so they're hoping that this virtual reality will help people, come to the museum without actually being at the museum. Okay, in conclusion, is this how we will consume art in the future? It is believed by many experts that the future of art and how it is viewed will eventually become completely digital. There is a growing number of artists who also only use digital forms of mediums when creating art. So for example, people who do graphic design for video games, people who use their tablet to draw and create art. You know, a lot of people aren't using physical mediums anymore, mostly due to how expensive it is, you know, getting a canvas and then getting the paint and everything like that. And it's so much more accessible to just do online painting and online and digitized versions of their artwork. This means that not too far in the future, it could be assumed that almost all new pieces of art will be digital. Um, the increase in virtual reality technology will also become a large part in how people will visit museums and consume art. You know, it's not too far of a stretch to say that maybe in the future, the only way that some people will visit a museum is through virtual reality. Um, it could also be assumed with the rapid increase in digital forms of accessing museums as well as libraries that the future of these institutions will be completely in the virtual realm in the future. And that can be said about a lot of different things. So a lot of places that people will visit, a lot of vacation areas, or even, let's say, institutions and experiences will be turned to the virtual realm. And it could be that in the future, libraries and museums are completely virtual rather than being in person. So you know, and the workers there will have to work completely online, and that's how we will curate, that's how we will archive, and that's how we will provide information, is through virtual reality. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope you liked it, and thank you so much.